From The Australian, here's what's on the front. I'm Claire Harvey. It's Tuesday, December 30. As The Australian's Europe correspondent, Jacquelin Magnay covers Olympic Games, papal elections, UK politics, natural disasters, wars, and, of course, the royals. 2025 has been a huge year for the House of Windsor. And today, Jack joins us to reveal what courtiers are really saying about the King's cancer, Prince Harry's prospects of coming home, Meghan Markle's future, and the occasional moment when even the most popular royal, Catherine, Princess of Wales, gets it wrong. In 2025, the House of Windsor mourned one close family member.
Say that it is with deep sorrow that Buckingham Palace announces the death of Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Kent.
And orchestrated the demise of another.
Prince Andrew will now be known as Andrew Mountbatten Windsor.
King Charles goes into 2026 still fighting one undisclosed form of cancer, although he has said his treatment is reducing and is on the mend. Catherine, Princess of Wales, continued her recovery from another, also undisclosed, form of cancer.
Melania and I are delighted to visit again with Prince William and to see Her Royal Highness, Princess Catherine, so radiant and so healthy, so beautiful.
Prince Harry sued the United Kingdom and lost again, and then won a review of his security arrangements. Meghan Markle and her TV show were quietly dropped by Netflix.
The extension of it, which was such an incredible sign of the strength of our partnership, was now being in a first look deal, which is also exciting because it gives us flexibility to go to our partners first, and then at the same time to be able to shop content that might not be the right fit for Netflix but has a home somewhere else.
And all of it was covered thanks to her excellent contacts in the royal household by our own Europe correspondent, Jacquelin Magnay. Jack, this year, King Charles took pretty serious action against his brother Prince Andrew after the revelations about his entanglement with Jeffrey Epstein in the United States. What was your view and how did you go about reporting Charles's actions in regard to Andrew?
Well, when it happened, it was in October of 2025. And of course, this story has been rumbling along for many, many, many years. And it seemed that the royal family wanted to try and just bury it. That they wanted, if they thought their normal modus operandi to, if you just ignore it and forget about it, people will forget about it. But it didn't happen because of the court cases in America kept bringing up Andrew's association with Virginia Giuffre. And so when the Queen gave her son, £12 million in her final year of life to make this go away, I think the royals thought that that would be the end of the matter, but it wasn't, of course. And I think what King Charles did was rather extreme. I mean, this is unprecedented, to strip your brother of his titles to the point that he's now a commoner. He's known as Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, Mr. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. And all of that privilege, all of that status is now gone. And it seems a really harsh punishment, which for something that is not yet proven in court, it's a contested allegation. So what happened with the royal family? It was seen as a real shock. But I spoke to a few of the courtiers and some of the palace aides trying to understand the reasoning for such extreme action. And there was a lot of anger about Andrew not wanting to leave Royal Lodge, which was this ostentatious 30-room mansion that he's been living in for decades, pays a peppercorn rent, but he does have an ironclad lease on it. And so that was causing enormous frustration for not only King Charles, but for Prince William, because they wanted Andrew to be seen to not be living a lavish lifestyle, that they wanted him to basically go away and just live quietly and not be promoted as a senior royal. But of course, Andrew had many different ideas about that. So this action by King Charles was rather severe and unprecedented. And it was also done with an eye to trying to stop any spillover or any consequences for Prince Harry. Because, of course, he's the other duke that has trashed the royal family brand and is a constant source of some disquiet amongst the royal family, the various things that he and Meghan, his wife, get up to. So I think that they felt that by taking such extreme action against Andrew, it would stop any such action against Prince Harry, because Charles does not want to punish Prince Harry in any way. He wants to re-establish relationships with his son. So it's one of those things that, will it work? I don't know. I think it really opens up a can of worms now that the British Parliament could perhaps put extra pressure on the monarch whenever a member of the royal family is seen to be doing something untoward or damaging to the royal family or to British life, that the Parliament may try and extract a bit more, of their power and wield it.
What's your sense of William's involvement in that decision to freeze out Andrew quite so spectacularly?
Well, William and Andrew don't get on. It's kind of well known, and we see that in their body language between the two, and you will not see William defending Andrew at all, and in fact very much distancing himself from his uncle. And I'm sure that William was consulted, but I've been told that it was very much King Charles's decision, and that Charles felt that constitutionally he had to put an end to this. And by doing so, he's allowing Andrew to move out of Royal Lodge and move into a house on his own private estate in Sandringham. Of course, this was a decision that William wholeheartedly supported, but from what I've been told, that it was actually Charles's decision and what he felt was the right thing to do.
Well, this is a pretty significant U-turn after years of legal back and forth for Prince Harry. The UK government has now agreed to carry out a fresh security review looking into whether the Duke of Sussex should again receive taxpayer-funded round-the-clock police protection when he visits the UK, even though he's no longer a working member.
I'm intrigued that you say that Charles is keen to reconcile with Harry because, Charles is the king now. He could rip up the rule that Queen Elizabeth created that means that Meghan and Harry are exiled in California and not allowed to do any royal duties, not allowed to call themselves His and Her Royal Highness. Why doesn't Charles just change the rules and allow them to have security in the United Kingdom and let them be kind of half in, half out as they wanted?
Well, he doesn't want that because he knows that the public in Britain would not be accepting of that decision. He knows that Meghan and Harry don't want to come back to the UK, that Meghan is so unpopular that she will not set foot in the UK, I don't think, in her lifetime. So it's quite an easy decision for him not to have to even go down that path to enact a new royal decree, which would also have to get parliamentary approval and would take up some significant time in the Commons. So he doesn't want his family spat to be played out amongst politicians. So he wants to deal with it in his own way and will do it within the existing framework. And it seems to me that he's been waiting for Harry's legal problems or legal actions in the UK to finish, because as the monarch, he is actually representing the law in the UK. So he can't be seen to be having a relationship with Harry while Harry is essentially suing the king. So it creates a constitutional issue, especially if Harry then decides to give some interview about a particular conversation he may have had with his father. If he suddenly reveals that, Dad says, this is wrong, then suddenly it would create an unbelievable constitutional crisis. So the king is very mindful of his duties in that regard. And he has been trying to get Harry to drop all these legal cases. But Harry is very determined and stubborn and persisting in them. But I really don't believe that Meghan will come over in any way, shape or form.
Coming up, we need to talk about Meghan.
I love the holiday season. It's about finding time to connect with the people we love.
I hope you curated a Christmas tree and a Christmas feast, Jack, in line with Meghan Markle's instructions in her holiday special. I found myself drawn to the second season of her TV show like a car crash. I could not stop watching her, making candles in her crafting barn and, learning how to open a sea urchin. And what struck me about the show is that, she's so close to being kind of warm and relatable. But for me, there are two factors. One is that everything she prepares involves thousands of dollars of expense. The crafting barn alone would be a multi-million-dollar property. You could put two families in it. And also, she talks a lot about showing up in small ways for people and showing your love with little gestures.
Embracing traditions.
I like this.
There we go.
And making new ones.
We are now in.
But in the big gestures, like, for example, speaking to your own father or allowing your children to see their grandfather, the king, she doesn't show up at all.
No, and that's the problem, is the fakery about it all. The people want to see some honesty and genuineness, and we don't get that because we know it's not true. In the holiday special, she is promoting, Christmas as a time for family experiences and togetherness. And yet in her own family, there's so much division, and she hasn't seen her own father in years. That, her children have not seen their grandfather, her father, and they haven't seen King Charles very often at all, or they certainly would not have remembered meeting him. So it's this situation where she does one thing and says another. And I don't think the viewership really warms to her because of that. And some of it's so silly. I mean, who makes lavender balls to put in a Christmas cracker for their 4-year-old daughter? I mean, it's like, I don't know what 4-year-olds are into wellness and smelling a scent. I mean, they would just want to, get some stickers or a colouring in pen and, go wild, or a bike. I mean, let's get real here.
Yeah, it's hard to watch. Someone who is at the centre of the family is Catherine, the Princess of Wales. She's become the kind of superstar of the royals, and it helps that she's incredibly beautiful, I think, and looks great in a tiara. She has really returned to public life this year, hasn't she, Jack, after recovering from cancer?
Well, she has, but it's been very carefully calibrated. And when she does make an appearance, a lot is made of it. So it may seem that she's doing a lot, but actually she's not. Her appearances are very, very carefully put in the diary. They're only ever confirmed, hours before she turns up. They're allowing her a lot of wriggle room to get out of things if she doesn't feel 100%. So it's not as though it is business as usual for Catherine, but we do see her now making more of an effort, and she has certain causes that are very dear to her heart, and so she's prioritising those. And we saw that late November when she gave a speech about early childhood, and that's a passion project of hers.
As business leaders, you'll face the daily challenge of finding the balance between profitability and having a positive impact. But the two are not and should not be incompatible.
It didn't go down that well, actually, this speech, because people thought that she was lecturing them about, or certainly lecturing businesses about, allowing workers more time off and being more flexible in working hours. And it came around the time of the budget where everyone is on tenterhooks about tax rises, and the cost of living pressures over here are quite extreme. And so suddenly there's a little bit of criticism being thrown at the royal family because they're an obvious target of having wealth and opulence and privilege, and people are starting to question a little bit. And certainly when that questioning is directed at Catherine, who's the most popular member of the royal family, then I think people are suddenly taking notice that, well, certainly within the royal family, they're noticing that, hey, we need to be a little bit more down with the people and being out and about a lot more. So I think we'll see a lot more of that. I'll also think we'll see the royal family try and, they call it modernise, but essentially just being more in touch with what the normal Britain is going through. And they can't be seen to be activists. And we saw that with King Charles when he was Prince. He was very much an activist, writing letters all the time, and he's certainly changed his ways now he's king. But I think Prince William has to be a little bit careful with the causes that he's also pushing, that he's not dividing the country. He really has to bring the country together and bring the country with him. So that will be a real challenge for him in the next couple of years. And, it looks like with King Charles's cancer that he's still getting treatment for, but he looks pretty healthy actually, doesn't he? So, but that is also hanging over the royal family, that there could be a coronation sooner rather than later. And so Prince William faces, several decades on the throne, and, he will do it his own way, but he's a man who's a lot quieter and a lot more private than previous monarchs. So it'll be interesting to see what tone he adopts and how he changes to the challenges that the royal family are going to face.
Jacquelin Magnay is the Australian's Europe correspondent. You can read her reporting and all the best journalism from around the world, including our partners, The Wall Street Journal and The Times of London, anytime at theaustralian.com.au.